Laurie Garrett, what do you know? What's going on? How can there be vaccines sitting in warehouses without being pre-allocated?
Well, this is complicated because we've only been a week of unloading Pfizer vaccine to begin with, and then a nor'easter hits. And right from the very beginning, FedEx, UPS were warning that they were going to have disruptions in their abilities to keep pace with just routine Christmas deliveries, much less the Pfizer vaccine, because of airport closures and the nor'easter. Now you add to that apparently General Purnham, who's the CEO of the Operation Warp Speed, made a decision to set a fair amount of the vaccine off in reserve in case any of these planes that did try to get through the storm crashed or had disruption in their ability to deliver on time. So much of the dosage was actually set aside and preserved, and that's why states got orders that they were going to receive far less than they expected. But the real problem with all this, Nicole, is that each time there's a disruption, even if it seems apparently to be relatively legitimate in source, in reason, in rationale, it undermines the credibility of the entire effort at a time when we have real concerns about public acceptance of vaccination and willingness to go along. And it underscores another key problem. Neither Moderna, which had its hearings that were concluded 20-0 with one abstention approval for their new vaccine, nor Pfizer have agreed to meet their original production quotas with the United States on the original timetables laid out in the summer. Both have indicated that they're probably going to come in later with fewer doses than originally expected because there are real production issues, real supply issues on basic raw ingredients that go into making these complicated RNA vaccines.
You know, Laurie, just to follow up, I mean, you hit I think the political issue on the head. We have a country that is, I think Dr. Osterholm calls it not pandemic fatigue, but pandemic rage. We have a country that is not known for its patience, a young and impatient country, really pressing against the few things we can do to protect ourselves. And for all Americans, there is great hope in the vaccine. And I think your point about competence and trust is central. Is there I mean, just from where you sit, are there examples of other countries communicating more clearly and more coherently about what's going wrong in distribution?
Well, the UK is running up against problems as well. They've just discovered a new mutant strain of the virus is circulating in the southeastern part of the United Kingdom, and it appears to be a mutant that gives the virus the capacity to spread more readily. It doesn't seem to make it any more lethal or dangerous, but it does seem to coincide with more rapid spread that's being experienced in the UK, and they think it may be a breakthrough mutation that is the result of so much virus circulating so widely in an uncontrolled epidemic in that country that a lot of people acquired immunity because of exposure, and now the virus is breaking through around that immunity. I don't think we can point to a country and say, those guys are doing their vaccine rollout perfectly. I think what's much more important to ask is, all day today, the National Academy of Sciences convened a meeting on how do we establish trust in our vaccine programs? How do we get the public to believe that everybody's trying to do the right thing and that the product is safe to use and it will work? And currently, we don't have the right kinds of messaging going out, and we're not acting in a way that makes all of this clear. If everything about this lower dosage supplied to states boils down to preparation for the nor'easter and disruptions in the Northeast corridor due to snowfall, that should have been said. Right? You know, the General Purnham should have issued a statement. The states should have been led to understand. We need clear messaging, clear, absolute, transparent messaging, because each failure to be clear about why something's not going smoothly results in more distrust in the public, and people leap to their preconceived political notions, you know, red state, blue state, whatever it may be, and start accusing and reaching conclusions that may be completely wrong.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.